I'm very happy to share today's ideas with you. And I'd like to start by raising the question: is there such a thing as spiritual healing? If there is such a thing as spiritual healing, how does it work? And is this the future of well being, of longevity, and health span, and joy, and enlightenment? So let's start with possibly the scientific basis of spiritual healing. So I go back to a phrase from the Vedantic literature, the Upanishads, Ayurveda, Indian spiritual traditions, wisdom traditions, however you want to call it. And the phrase says, if you want to know what your experiences were in the past, then look at your body now. If you want to know what the body will look like in the future, then observe your experiences and choose your experiences consciously now. So what does that mean? Okay. This means that experience is metabolized into what we call the appearance of the brain and the body. Experience is metabolized. But experience is complicated. So first there is, what we call, let's call it direct experience. And direct experience is just sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. But then there's the constructed experience. You take the sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, and you construct the idea of objects and all of that. Everything that we look at that statue behind me. Okay, that's Shiva dancing on a snake. Okay, but the direct experience, as I look at it, is shape. If I touch it, it's hard steel, iron. If I touch it, so the touching of that statue is hardness. The visual experience is color. Now, of course, I could taste it and smell it and bang it and produce all the 5 sensory experiences that we have: sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell. But the fact that I call it a statue of Shiva is a human construct. So what is that? That's a human construct for the alchemy of sensations. I've said this many times. I feel almost like redundant. But that statue and everything else that you see are human constructs, including me and the body that you are using to look at this screen and everything else happening. So in Eastern wisdom traditions, the experience and the interpretation of experience is called karma. And karma is also memory. We had experiences, we interpreted them, and now we have memories. Memory is information. And then this information actually recycles as experience again in the future. Karma, memory, and desire. That's the, classic orthodox explanation of karma. It's not, good and bad, all of that. It's just experience and how we interpreted it. So let me give you an example. We went to Disney World, you and I enjoyed the ride, and you did not. Okay, so now we have different memories of that experience. I might go to Disney World again and pay for it, for the jitteriness of the experience, and you may decide never to go again. In fact, you're scared when the same experience occurs in an airplane. But because I interpret the airplane ride the same way as I interpret the Disney World ride, I'm happy. I enjoy it. So that's called karma. Karma is the metabolism of experience, the interpretation of experience, the memory of the experience, the information generated by the experience, and the choices made in the future as a result of the interpretation of the experience. Karma, memory, and desire are, are the software of our souls. Okay, I'm going to ignore that call. So that's another experience. Okay, so now we actually look at some of the developments in science. And one of the most interesting developments in science is what we call epigenetics. Okay, and what does epigenetics suggest? Epigenetics suggests that our experiences influence genetic activities that our bodies then use to metabolize experience into the molecules of a body. Literally. Epigenetics, I'll repeat, suggests that experience influences genetic activities and that our bodies are the metabolism of experience and experiences and their interpretation. Epigenetics is the study of how environmental factors can change gene expression without changing the underlying DNA sequence. This means that our genes are not fixed and can be influenced by experiences. So now there's growing body of evidence and a growing body of research that shows how epigenetic changes can be caused by factors such as stress, diet, exercise, exposure to toxins. There are epigenetic switches that go on and off based on the experience we're having. Literally switches. And of course, there are chemical bases for these switches called methylation, deacylation, etc. These changes can then affect the way our genes are expressed. And that in turn influences our health, our behavior, and even our personality. For example, studies have shown that children who experience early childhood trauma are more likely to develop epigenetic changes that increase their risk of diseases such as, say, heart disease, obesity, depression, and many other chronic illnesses. Conversely, studies have also shown that positive experiences, such as a supportive and nurturing childhood, can lead to epigenetic changes that promote health and well being. The idea that our bodies are metabolism of experience is relatively new, although, by the way, I've been talking about it for 30 years, literally, the metabolism of experience. And people roll their eyes up. But needless to say, the time for understanding this is here. So, all this suggests that our bodies are the metabolism of experience. Relatively new idea, but it is gaining increasing support from scientific research. The research suggests that our genes are not the only factors that determine our health and well-being. Our experiences play a role, and these experiences can literally change the way our genes are expressed. This is a powerful reminder that we are not simply the victims of our genes. We have the power to influence our own health and well-being by making choices that promote positive epigenetic changes. These choices include eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, managing stress, and getting enough sleep. So this is all well known. In addition to these lifestyle choices, we can also support positive epigenetic changes by creating a nurturing and supportive environment for ourselves and for our children. This means providing them with love, acceptance, and opportunities to learn and grow. The field of epigenetics is, of course, still new, but it is expanding rapidly. and expanding our understanding of how our genes and our experiences interact to influence our health and well being. The research has the potential to revolutionize our approach to medicine and psychology, and it is giving new hope to preventing and treating disease. But now the question is, can we go a little bit deeper? So, is all experience in consciousness? Is the experience in the brain, or is the brain also an experience? And neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, synaptogenesis, and epigenetics all suggest that the brain is not the source of experience. It represents the neural correlates of experience. So it is actually, even the brain, the landscape of the brain, is an expression of experience, even the landscape of the brain, because the landscape of the brain is through genetics and epigenetics, just like the body. So what is the brain? What is the body? Also, the metabolism of experience. I would say that the brain is created by genes, but it is sculpted by experience. But now, let us define what we mean by experience is processed, metabolized in consciousness. Where are you having this experience right now? And what is it doing to your brain and your body? So, the experience you're having right now is not in your brain, it's not in your body. Okay? The experience you're having right now is in your consciousness. And then, of course, in your mind, which is a modified form of consciousness, the mind is conditioned consciousness. So that's where the experience is happening. And so the experience is not happening in anything that we call local. The experience doesn't really have a location in space-time. And I define consciousness, awareness, spirit, soul as all one entity, and the mind and the brain and the body and the world as differentiated modes of that fundamental reality, which is pure consciousness, infinite possibilities, non-local correlation, uncertainty principle, unpredictable, creative, self-organizing, self-regulating, and self-evolving. So if we understand that consciousness as awareness of oneself and the world around us, then of course all experience is in consciousness. This is because experience is simply the way we perceive and interact with the world around us, and actually also how we interact with our own selves. Everything that we see, hear, smell, touch, and think is part of conscious experience. So consciousness is the subjective experience of being aware. Experience is the processing of being aware. Consciousness is the filter through which we experience the world. Experience is the raw material that consciousness it produces, manufactures. Consciousness is where we have all experience. Consciousness is where we know all experience. Consciousness is where we interpret all experience. And consciousness is into which experience subsides eternally and now. In other words, the ground of all experience is pure consciousness. So, what is the future of well-being and longevity? First, it is to choose experiences that we know will create a joyful, energetic body, a loving, compassionate heart, a clear mind, creative mind, and lightness of being. And everything I've listed is important for that. Sleep, managing stress, vagal stimulation, mind-body coordination, exercise, emotions, good nutrition, biological rhythms, maintaining biological rhythms. All of this is not new, but I'm going a little further. the best way for spiritual healing or consciousness based healing, longevity, and health span, the best, but it'll take you time to get there, is the experience we call choiceless awareness, witnessing awareness. But there's something beyond that, and that is even when the witness drops. When the witness drops, there's no subject object split, and you have returned to the source. This in yoga is called samadhi. So, dharana, which is focused awareness, and intention. In this case, the intention is health span, longevity, healing, well being, dharana, dhyan, meditation, maintaining that flow, and then samadhi, transcendence, subject object split, become one. This is choiceless awareness, pure being, fundamental reality. And this, my friends, is the future of well being, longevity, health, and well being. I'd love to know your thoughts on this.